My first question speaks to the issue of identity, and specifically how each panelist self-identifies. So some of our panelists do not necessarily embrace the term Muslim American artist, others do. Some may identify as a practicing Muslim, or a secular Muslim, or as culturally Muslim. Some may reject such labels altogether. So I'd like to begin by asking each of you to address your relationship to the term Muslim American artist and the ways in which Islam or Muslimness define your identity and art.
Well, first, thank you. I think on behalf of all of us, thank you to Jamil and Malik and Silver Rising for organizing this kind of event. For all of us creating works, whether it's film, comedy, music, plays, writing, is wonderful. But unless people are there to create audiences for us to talk and discuss and show, the artwork goes as unknown. So thank you so much for all that you do. I think in identifying who I am, I had a long conversation one time with my father-in-law about Muslims and whether you are secular, whether you're traditionalist, whether you are super religious or not. He's like, every Muslim is just a Muslim. No Orthodox or non-Orthodox. If you want to categorize my Islam in terms of how we tend to look at religion in America, I would tell you I'm a faithful, practicing Muslim who definitely identifies with my religion. It's a big part of who I am and what I am. But I, by no means, as I made this film or did this work, am I a scholar of Islam. I've not gone and studied in the Middle East. I'm not a hafiz of the Quran. I know the religion well, but I am not qualified to speak on the religion from a purely religious sense, in a scholarly sense, as a sheikh would or a hafiz would or somebody of that nature. I think in terms of the word artist, it's funny that you mentioned this as artists. I look at Rohina, or I look at Azhar, or I look at Marwan as artists who really dedicate their lives to creating, writing, performing. For me, my main line of business is sports marketing and advertising, and I'm an expert in the field of sponsorship marketing and television production. I looked at the film that I did, my connection to that as a Muslim who has a story to tell and was in a unique position because one of the things I specialize is in high school sports, and I also specialize in television production, so I kind of felt as a Muslim I was in a unique position to tell that specific story, not necessarily to get up and do a comedy act or to write a play and perform. And so that's kind of how I look at my identity.
I identify as a Muslim, a huge part of who I am. But when it comes to my art, I see myself as a theater artist. And Islam may or may not be the subject matter that I might want to explore in my work. So far in my career, I have focused on the Muslim community, but that's where I am at this point in my life. Who knows in the future what I might write about.
So my relationship with it is kind of the same as everybody else's. I think it's kind of not the end point of the discussion. Like, I don't want to be viewed just through the prism of being a Muslim artist, but I think it's something that's already built into all the artwork I'm doing. It's kind of like a cultural frame of reference. Hodgson is a scholar of Islam. He said that a Westerner who studied Islam said that he uses the term Islamic as something in the same way that you would say the Christian world is the Muslim world, right? And I think that that's my kind of frame of reference. I'm drawing upon cultural influences that come from that region of the world and that culture, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what my artwork's about. So I think it's a nebulous concept, and it takes the form of whatever box you put it in. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about the label too much, honestly.
So I think I would actually push back on the term Muslim American artist. I think it, for me, I found it to be very limiting, both from an artistic standpoint and also the way in which your art is interpreted. And one of the issues we had when we published Love Inshallah was that, you know, because my co-editor and I both self-identify as Muslim, and we were showcasing the writing of American Muslim women, people automatically saw it as sort of some sort of theological work. And but if we had said these are a collection of love stories written by American Muslim women, women who happen to be American and Muslim, I think the reception is very different. But when you see somebody as sort of a Muslim American artist, then you automatically sort of put them in a box, and it definitely limits creativity. So in my background, obviously, I'm Muslim. That's my faith, and it obviously influences the work that I do, but I would push back on that label.
I don't know how to answer this question because it's certainly not in like a soundbite. Because I definitely reject the term Muslim American. I think is a meaningless term because if it should be Muslim American, then it should be hyphenated. It'd be like African American or Asian American, because then you're in a room full of Americans and you're identifying based on this particular aspect of your identity. But it should be hyphenated, or it should be an American Muslim, because if I go to Hajj or Umrah in the Middle East, I'm in a room full of Muslims. There's an Indonesian Muslim, a Turkish Muslim, a Pakistani Muslim, and an American Muslim. So I consider myself, I guess, in that conversation, an American Muslim. I don't like the term Muslim American if it's not hyphenated, because it doesn't mean anything to me. It's sort of a nonsensical phrase. But I think the bigger thing that I wrestle with is the labels at all. Because religion is paradoxical insofar as all religion tells you the same thing, which is that the label is actually kind of irrelevant, and what matters is what's inside, and be a good person, and do you really believe in God, and are you a moral being, etc., etc. And so the label's not important. And then in the very next breath, what? The label's super important. So there's a paradox to it, and there's no way to resolve it, I think, intellectually. It's an experiential process. So I'll just conclude by saying, I certainly do consider myself a Muslim in the sense that I belong to a community that follows the prophecy of the final messenger of God, the Prophet Muhammad. And that community sees itself as being children of Abraham, because they fall into what's called the millah, the family of Abraham. And we view as believers in this lineage, if you will, that Abraham himself is nothing more than sort of a snapshot in time of a larger human history. So as the march of human civilization goes forward, when I say I'm a Muslim, all I consider that to be is, I belong to the human family that literally includes every wisdom teaching, every traditional religion, every philosophical school that came before it. Everything is in Islam for me, and that's what I embrace. And then the story of my life has become, my adult life anyway, has become trying to find real living teachers who are truly inheritors of that tradition. And I've been very blessed in my life to find them not only in the Muslim community, but also in other communities, because I do believe that there are people who are spiritually connected and inheritors of that wisdom tradition beyond the label.